everyone, my name is Discourse, and today I want to talk about the Warhammer Battleforce box sets and their value. You know, if you can actually buy one, because it's increasingly looking like there's just not enough in stock this year. Let me explain. So Alchemist Workshop, a third-party retailer in the UK, originally asked Games Workshop for 60 to 100 of every single Battleforce box set. And Games Workshop has sent them, drumroll please, four of every single Battleforce, from 100 to 4. There is a big gap between those two numbers. 4% of the order is being sent. Yeesh. And that's how they're treating the UK. In mainland Europe, things aren't too rosy either. Marima War Games, one of the biggest Italian retailers, was hoping to receive 287 boxes. Wanna know how many they got? 32. Their entire order consists of 32 boxes that they're going to receive. A moment of silence for our Italian comrades. Sorry guys. And I've heard the same story from our Spanish compatriots too. And it seems that for whatever reason, the Deathguard box and the Ossiarch Battleforce won't be going to mainland Europe at all. They just aren't being delivered to European stores. And the USA won't be receiving the Ad-Mech box until January 2022. Now these numbers just come from the first wave of releases, so there might be more in a second wave. But nevertheless, this isn't good for game stores at all. Third-party retailers right now are already struggling, and Christmas is a really big time of year for them. And the question is, are Games Workshop doing this on purpose? Okay, I know I've spun around and just become a bit of a caricature of myself here, but honestly, Games Workshop might be holding back on sending out stock of battle forces in order to drive more customers to their online web store. They actually did this probably earlier this year. Some might remember that back in June, the stock allocation for Age of Sigmar Dominion boxes for third-party retail stores was slashed in half by Games Workshop, and yet the supply to their own online store was never halted. And the same thing happened with the Adeptus box before Dominion. Third-party retail stores were screwed over at the very last minute. So basically, Games Workshop told stores that they would give them 30 boxes, then that store would allow customers to pre-order that many boxes, and then Games Workshop would slash that number in half. Now at least this time they're not pulling a switcheroo, they're being quite open with the limited supply of boxes. But still, it's very, very suspicious. And if you look at all of their messaging right now, they are trying to drive people to their online store. They've hired new designers to update their online web portals, and they've talked at great length in their annual reports about driving more customers to their online web stores. And it's obvious why. They have a much higher margin on their online store. And as a company, they have an unhealthy obsession with maintaining an impossibly high profit margin. I mean, to be clear, I'm not saying that this is definitely the case, but I'm getting real suspicious is all. These last minute issues with stock are always very convenient. This could just be a manufacturing issue. They just maybe can't manufacture enough to meet demand. But they're not new products. They are existing products just bundled together. Is it really that hard to get enough out for Christmas? If this is an inability to manufacture enough, then clearly they didn't start preparing the battle forces until the very last minute, which I could actually believe as well, because I personally believe that Games Workshop revenue is down pretty substantially in the latter half of 2021. And so it could be that there's a little bit of panic going on over GWHQ. This could all be the result of them desperately wanting to produce battle forces at the very last minute in order to generate sales over Christmas. Obviously, I'm not sure about this. This is pure speculation on my part. We'll know more when the next annual report comes out, also known as Discourse's Christmas present. But regardless, we're going to run through the value of these battle forces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the price of every single box. I'm going to break down what you get inside them, and I'm going to compare how much it would cost you to buy these models separately from a third-party retailer with a discount applied. And I will be using Element Games as my retailer because that is who I would be buying them from if I were to purchase these things individually. Also, I happen to have an affiliate link down below, and that's a great way to support the channel. And if you want to buy a battle force, you're more than likely gonna have to get that directly from Games Workshop at RRP because of all the stock issues that we have just talked about. And then once I've run through every single battle force, I'm gonna get a little bit spicy, so stick around until the end. So let's roll through the boxes and talk about some of the numbers, because I know that that's what you want. Sexy, sexy numbers. So these battle forces are huge by Games Workshop standards, and they do ask quite a lot of players. They're a really significant buy-in. Now luckily the prices haven't gone up compared to last year, which is a mercy. It's probably one of the most depressing things to be happy about, that things have remained the same. We shouldn't be wincing at the sound of announcements, should we? But well, here we are. And so congratulations to Games Workshop, they haven't raised the price on us. Well done, thanks. You've practiced some restraint. So I do commend Games Workshop for that, at least. Okay, and the first box we're going to look at is the Space Marine Shield Breaker Force. And in this box you're going to get 10 Intercessors, 10 Assault Intercessors, 5 Heavy Intercessors, some Blade Guard Veterans, a Storm Speeder, and a Primaris Captain. So that is 900 points worth of models for £130, $210, or 160 euros. Separately, on Element Games, they come to £177.21, so you're saving £47 if you buy the bundle, which is an okay saving. This seems like one of the better boxes in terms of value, honestly. So this box seems to be more around providing a core of Space Marine models for probably a newer player. If you're someone who already collects Space Marines, you more than likely have most of these miniatures already. I suppose it makes sense that Games Workshop are only sending about 4 of these boxes over to Italy. There's probably only around 5 people in the entire world who don't already have a battalion of Space Marines. I proudly count myself amongst them. Second edition models don't count. And generally, I have to say that I prefer the boxes that come with a lot of infantry. I often find that the battle forces that come with vehicles sort of inflate the price, because I find vehicles especially inflated in cost when it comes to Warhammer plastic. But this box comes with a squad of heavy intercessors who are essentially the poster boys for poor value. So just bear that in mind. And next up we have the Necron Battleforce. This comes with a squad of Necron warriors, a Psychomancer Cryptek, a Locust heavy destroyer, which is basically just a heavy destroyer from 3rd edition. We have 3 Ophidian destroyers, we have 5 flayed ones, and we have 2 Canoptic Doomstalkers. Ooh. And you can pick this up for £130, $210, or 160 euros as well. So that's a saving of around £31, and the Necrons come to a points cost of 740 points. Honestly, I'm surprised that this box isn't just filled with Necron warriors, considering that no one's buying them separately anymore. So there must be so many shelves dedicated to holding thousands of Necron warriors over at GWHQ. But instead, we essentially get all the worst selling models in the Necron range, which does kind of lower the value. And the Necron box then, if you were to buy all the components of it individually, would come to £161.50p. And the Necron models in the box come to around 700 points. But in fairness to the models in here, they do look cool. I love the tripod Doomstalkers. They remind me of the Martian vehicles from War of the Worlds, which is just badass, honestly. So good luck to any artillerymen trying to take these things down, like bows and arrows against the lightning. However, that said, the flayed ones are ridiculously overpriced at the best of times, so they sort of serve to inflate the value of this box. And honestly, I don't think that the current iteration are as good as the originals from back in 3rd edition. They were a lot more creepy and weird back then. The new versions need more flesh. Needs more flesh! And next up we have the Orks Kildaka Warband. This costs £125, $210, or 160 euros. And this box comes with 5 knobs, a squad of Gretchen, the cheeky little buggers. It has 20 boys, it has a Dev Killer War Trike, a Big Mac with a shock attack gun, and a Daka Jack. You get around 700 to 800 points worth of models in this box. So individually, these models come to around £152 on Element Games. There's a little bit of weirdness here. This is actually one of the better value boxes in theory. However, massive caveat to that, the boys models in this box are the same ones from the Combat Patrol, which means that you're getting some monopose models and a mix of Slugger Boys and Shooter Boys. That severely drops the value of this box. It hits it really hard, in fact. I personally would value those Ork boys a lot lower than the Ork boys that you can buy separately. And I think anyone with a combat patrol will probably feel the same way. The best part of this box is the Gretchen. That should say a lot. Now, I'm just personally glad that they didn't make the entire box all beast snaggers. And next up, we have the Deathguard. Why this year of all years? Why the Deathguard? Okay, and this includes... It has some Death Shroud Terminators, some Plague Marines, some Blight Haulers, Plague Burst Crawlers, it has some Plague Marine Champion, and it has an Icon Bearer too. So pretty disgusting box overall. And this box will cost you £125, $210, or 160 euros. And this box comes with around 900 to 1000 points. And separately, these models cost £157 on Element Games. And my thoughts on this box are, And while this does come with the highest amount of points in the box, am I the only one who thinks you don't get a lot of plastic in here? $210 for this few miniatures? And sure, you're making a saving of around $100 here, but I don't know. The Deathguard themselves just seem very overpriced to me. And yes, I know we're talking about Games Workshop here, but even by their standards, Deathguards seem really expensive for what you get. There's just not a lot of plastic here. And next up we have the Sisters of Battle Battleforce. And it comes with 10 Battle Sisters, an Immolator, an Exorcist, a Sister Dogmata, and a squad of Celestian Sacrosancts. And the Sisters of Battle box comes to £130, $210, or 160 euros. So combined on Element Games, they come to around £157, and you get 600 points worth of models in here. So in reality, for UK customers, you make a saving of around £27. So you basically get a squad of Sisters of Battle for free. Now in my opinion, I said it before, I think there's too many vehicles in this box. I think it inflates the price of the Battle Force. I would have been more interested in seeing a variety of infantry units in this box, and maybe a single tank, Immolator or Exorcist. I would have been happy with either. I think they're both fun. And then next up we have the Omnissiah's Talon, the Ad-Mech box set. And in this box you get an Iron Strider, a squad of Skitarii Rangers, a Tech Priest Manipulus, Taraxi, some Rust Stalkers, and some Cerberus Raiders. And the Adeptus Mechanicus box comes to £125, $210, or 160 euros. And if all these models were bought separately from Element Games, it would come to around £155. So there is a nice mix of units in this box, but still they only come to 520 points, which is a very low amount of points. I personally feel like a battle force like this, where you're spending so much money, you should probably walk away with around 1000 points worth of units, at least. So 520 points is around half of what I would personally want from a big box set at this price point. So overall, for the 40k battle forces, it looks like each one of them is designed to be a companion piece to each of the combat patrols for their respective factions. Which is an okay idea, honestly. I don't begrudge them. If the combat patrols are designed to be an introduction to each army, then it makes sense that the battle forces could kind of slot in alongside those. I'm a fan of that. Though the Ork box is a notable exception in that it repeats the same monopose models. Man, Orks really got the short thrift with their release, didn't they? Okay, and next up we have Age of Sigmar. First up, I want to say there's no Beastman Battle Force. So obviously there's a lot of disappointed people out there. I totally agree. I don't understand why the best faction in the entire game hasn't gotten a Battle Force. As far as I'm concerned, Beastmen are the Space Marines of Age of Sigmar, right? They got the first codex in the first edition of the game, and the codex was so good that Games Workshop never felt the need to update it for 3rd edition. So the lack of support here is weird. I can only assume that there isn't enough Beastmen left in stock because they keep selling out so fast. And if you agree with that, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to get 0 subscribers off the back of that one, aren't I? Anyway, what we do have is the Revenant Legion for the Soulblight Gravelords. And you get a squad of Blood Knights, a Vengorian Lord, 20 Death Rattle Spooky Skeletons, and 40 Deadwalker Zombies. Ooh. And this box will cost you £130, $210, or €160. And they shake out at 875 points. These would cost £156 separately if bought from Element Games, so this comes out at one of the lowest value boxes. But honestly, it comes with so many more miniatures than any other box, I can't help but feel like it comes out with one of the better plastic to money ratios. If you forget about the game system for a second and the points values of everything, 40 zombie models is a pretty significant sum. And I've heard from Soulblight players that they already have too many zombies. But there is value in getting more and getting an endless swarm of zombies. Really, the question for this box is, do you want zombies? Here's zombies. My suggestion to players who don't want 40 zombies is to not buy this box. But otherwise, this seems pretty good if you want zombies. Get your zombies here. And next up, we have the Blade Carnival for the Hedonites of Slaanesh. And this comes with 3 Slangor Fiend Bloods, or as I like to think of them, Beastmen and Booties. We've got 10 Blissbarb Archers, Slick Blade Seekers, we've got Myrmidesh Painbringers, Simbaresh Twin Souls, and a Shard Speaker, also known as the coolest sorcerer model in the game. And this Battle Force is coming to £130, $210, or €160 again. All these models separately bought on Element Games would come to £167, and in this box you get 1030 points. So it's actually hitting my threshold for what I would expect of a Battle Force. So this comes with relatively new models, which is cool. I would have liked to personally have seen another squad of Blissbarb Archers, but Games Workshop seemed reluctant to include too many battle line forces in these Battle Force boxes, so I'm not a fan of that. I feel like the miniatures should have been enough in this box to form a viable army, but what do I know? Still, 1000 points is pretty good. The Myrmidesh Painbringers are a little bit overcosted though in terms of plastic. Similar issues like the Deathguard there. And next up we have Discount Tomb Kings. Ossiarch of Bonereapers. And this box comes with a Soul Reaper, a Bone Shaper, Mortek Guard, Necropolis Stalkers, Gothisaur Harvester, and a Mortek Crawler. I hate these names. And this box set comes to £125, $210, or €160. Separately, these models would come to around £156 on Element Games, and you get 815 points. I don't have a lot to say on these guys. Skeletons are obviously the spookiest thing one can imagine. Although, I'm a little bit disappointed that there's 2 death boxes. I know that's kind of what happens. Last year there was 2 destruction boxes. And next up you get the Lumineth Realmlords, also known as High Elves, as they should be. And in this box set you get a squad of Venari Arolan Warlords, some Blade Lords, some Dawn Riders, you get a Star Shard Ballista, Banner Blade, and a Lord Regent. So presumably there's like a dead king, but I don't know. And this box set comes to £130, $210, or €160. Now separately, all of these models come to £163 on Element Games. Although it doesn't look like the Prince Regent is being sold on Element Games, so there's a little bit of wiggle room there. And you get 815 points. So High Elves, more like GW were high when they came up with this box. No? There's a lot of cavalry. Feels like there could have been more infantry. And I was initially surprised when there wasn't any Sigmarine boxes revealed, but I actually recall hearing that the Lumineth Realmlords sell better than the Sigmarines. I mean, Thunderstrike Mortals, Lightning Lads, Gold-Faced People, Stormcast Eternals, that's it, I am sorry, I don't know anyone who plays Stormcast Eternals. Empire Till I Die. And those are all the box sets the Games Workshop are selling for Christmas. Unless you're in the USA, in which case they're selling them for January. Big month, January, renowned for its holiday season. So my thoughts are they're pretty pricey and you don't get a lot of plastic within them. And when stacked up against a third-party retailer with a discount, they don't look like that great value. Essentially, any value in these boxes is wiped out if there's even a single thing that you don't want. So just keep that in mind. But I leave it up to your own judgment. But we're now at the spicy bit, because I thought it would be fun to look at some comparison miniature wargame systems who also sell big army bundles similar to the Battle Force box sets. And C, are the battle forces in line with the miniature wargaming market? Because personally, I don't like to think of Games Workshop in a vacuum. They exist within a mini wargaming marketplace, and I think it's irresponsible for me not to talk about these boxes and not bring up Games Workshop's own competition. I thought it would be interesting to do a quick run around of some comparison systems and see, are these Battleforce box sets in line with the marketplace? Because many of these systems also have big army boxes available to buy. And personally, whenever I think of Games Workshop and their value offerings, I like to compare them to the rest of the mini wargaming market. I'm not gonna play your sick game, Games Workshop, and I'm not talking about Age of Sigmar. Because the trap that many hobbyists fall into is they think about Games Workshop products in isolation. And that's exactly what Games Workshop wants you to do. It's an entirely false economy. Instead, let's do something that I think every other reviewer should be doing when talking about these battle forces. You know, if they're responsible in their coverage. And look at the rest of the miniature wargaming market. You know, Games Workshop's competitors. And see whether or not these boxes present objective value outside of the Games Workshop ecosystem. And we're going to be looking at the recommended retail price of all these products. However, there will be links in the description below to discounted versions of these bundles. First up, we have a historical game, Bolt Action, which is also known as Warhammer 3rd Edition, but with alternating activations and a World War II skin. And this was created by Rick Priestley, who also created Warhammer 40k. And Warlord Games do sell similar boxes to the Battle Forces, which, by the way, are available all year round, and they're called starter armies. And each of these boxes is themed around a specific faction or a sub-faction of the broader army. So for the USA, you can get a USA Marines box or a US Army box. You get the idea. And every one of these starter armies comes out at $162, £100, or 120 euros. So while expensive in a vacuum, they're cheaper than the battle forces. And they don't screw over customers with conversion rates either. And here is the US Army box. It comes with 36 infantry, 2 vehicles, 3 artillery, and 10 crew members. Not bad, it costs less money and comes with a lot more models. Now, if sci-fi is more your jam, we've also got Beyond the Gates of Antares from the same publisher, Warlord Games. And they also do starters for the various factions of that game. Here is the Concord Combined Starter Force. It's $90, £56, or 67 euros. So it's substantially cheaper than the battle forces. And it comes with 23 infantry, 16 drones, some of which are pretty big, and a mortar squad. So you get less in the box, but the price is accordingly a lot cheaper. And next up, we're going to fly into the magical realm of generic Fantasyland? No, hold on. I mean, Pan-Ithor. Yeah, sure. And this is the fantasy rank and flank game from Mantic Games. And they do mega army bundles for every single faction, again, all year round. I'm definitely beginning to see a pattern here. And let's choose a faction at random. How about Halflings? Chosen totally at random. I swear it's not because they're objectively the best army Mantic have ever produced. I fucking love these little guys. It's the Shire mustering for war. So the Halfling Mega Army comes to $160, £110, or 140 euro. And that's not the Mega Army. That's just the army. This is the Halfling Mega Army. Yeah. So it's pricey, but I mean, look at what you get. It's still a lot cheaper than a battle force. But it comes with 60 infantry, 30 cavalry, which are dogs by the way, and a big massive centerpiece mechanical boar thing. That is pretty badass, and a whole host of special characters. That's a really good value box. It comes with a lot of miniatures for the price. And unlike some of the older Kings of War factions, the sculpts for the halflings actually look really high quality. So yeah, when we take the entirety of the miniature wargame market, I'm afraid to say, I personally don't think the battle forces shape up to be very good value at all. Many of the major army bundles that come out for other games set you up to have a playable army out of the box. And yet, most of the battle forces don't. There'll still be lots to buy after you pick up the battle forces. So don't fear if you're not able to get a Battleforce this year. Maybe look at this as an opportunity to try out a different system. Seriously, if you feel like Games Workshop are trying to push you out of the mini wargaming hobby, maybe try a different game. You might find something that you really enjoy. Most war games are innovative because they don't have a captive audience. They have to earn them. So there's a lot more competition when you look at other systems. Seriously, this year, this Christmas, try out a different mini war game. You might be surprised at how much fun you have. And if you'd like to support the channel in raising awareness of these other game systems, please check out my Patreon at patreon.com/discoursminiatures, because it's only thanks to my patrons listed up on the screen now that I'm able to produce content like this. And check out my previous video on the Battle Forces as I explain why these big bundles maybe aren't worth your time. And of course, there are affiliate links in the description below if you want to check out anything that I've talked about. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!